Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, this is Coach Ricardo Miller, and I'm excited about these series of talks we'll be having here on my Effective Living channel in the evening times. Yep, you heard me correctly. Our goal is to help you to identify the principles that will allow you to discover how you can live life on a whole nother level. I'm excited about this talk today because I'm joined with a lady who is now no stranger to this platform, but she's been hanging around, she's been here, and she's been sharing with us, but she's been doing some exciting things as well in her life. Andrea, what's going on, lady? How are you doing today?
Well, I'm gonna have to kick my dog before I start talking because he's starting again.
That's okay. We have, we got a lot of dog lovers that views this program, so they don't have a problem seeing your dog, hearing your dog, and you patting your dog on the head.
No, I'm not patting him. I'm trying to kick him from a distance. But like you said, my name is Andrea Pratt-Smith, and just to share with your viewing and listening audience a little bit about myself, I am the proud mother of two biological children, three children through marriage, and two grandchildren through marriage. I have been married for 11 years, but I've been a friend of my husband for 23 years now. I am the creative director and project manager of Creative Minds project development and consultation company that has just launched the first project management community in the Bahamas. We just left our launch party and I'm now here with you.
Yes.
And I'm also a member of Evangelistic Temple. I am a commander with the Royal Rangers Boys Club for the past 15 years.
Wow.
And I am a Toastmaster with ET Communicators.
Nice, nice. I did not know you were a Toastmaster. I used to be a member of the Cable Beach brand 6796.
Yes. I recently joined just a year ago.
I got you. I got you. Well, we're so glad you're able to join us. And congratulations on the launch this evening. Thank you for allowing me to play a small part. What an incredible evening it has been for you, going from one activity into the next. You're a busy woman.
Yes, I try to incorporate my project management skills and have awesome time management and schedule management. So
good stuff. Good stuff. Well, tonight we're talking about this term, hopeless romantic. I mean, I like the subject because at this particular stage in my life, I'm starting to study and assess things that once was considered a foreign subject to me. I believe for those of us who are in the community of effective living, desiring to live life at its best, we must study love, we must study romantic behaviors, and then we must desire to engage ourselves in the most healthiest of practices. When you think of the term hopeless romantic, what comes to mind? Because obviously you feel as though you're one of those persons.
well, for me, I categorize myself as a hopeless romantic, but really I'm just a person who loves to be in love and I love to give love. And so for me, that term, I don't really understand what it means to be a hopeless romantic. I'm just somebody who loves to be loved and who loves to give love. But I wouldn't say I'm hopeless about it.
well, the truth is, you go hard. You love hard. Would that be correct?
That's correct. I give my all. I give 110%. And it's all about following the golden rule. That's about every and any relationship in my life. I believe that if I treat a person a certain way, I should be treated that same way in return. And even with my spouse, one of the questions you would have asked me was, if men should just expect to be treating their wife a certain way, or like, should that be reciprocated? And my response would be, of course, most definitely. Wives are not just supposed to be takers, and we don't give that same affection in return. So it has to be a balance. You treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yep. What an incredible rule. It's a life principle that has been taught to us from one generation on to the next. The golden rule. When you think of the golden rule, when you think of love, there are a lot of people who have a lot of different feelings about what they have experienced when it comes to love. Some people have given up on love. Is that a sad case? Is that the reality of what you're seeing out there in society? Or is it that there are just some people who have had their bad share, but the vast majority, you think love is still alive?
I honestly and truly believe that love is still alive. Love will always be with us as long as God is with us. And once we could experience God's love, then we have that assurance that, hey, there's someone out there for me. It might not be the person that I was married to previously.
Yeah.
So don't give up hope. There's always someone out there for you. But I would say, instead of seeking, pray about it. That's what I did before I met my spouse. I left a very toxic relationship that was almost 5 years long, my son's father. And it was a very toxic and abusive relationship. And I was committed that I was not leaving this relationship. I was one of those teenage women who felt like I had a baby for this man. I'm going to marry this man. We're going to live happily ever after.
Yeah.
And trying to make a relationship work that died years ago, but I was still in it and I wanted to win at it. And I wanted this man to be my husband. But God had to send his angels to say, listen, this is not for you. You need to leave. Yeah. And it's a story that I'm going to write about in my book. So I'm not going to really share it in the full detail because I'm in the process of writing my first book. Yeah. And it was just that God had to wake me up and make me realize that he gives us our heart's desire, because that's what fathers do. They want their children to be happy. And so if you keep asking him for the same thing, whether it's his will or not, he's going to grant that to you. He grants you the desires of your heart. So if you keep telling him, I want to be in this toxic relationship, I want to marry this man, I think this is the one for me, he may give you that. And so you might find yourself in a marriage that's toxic because you asked to be in this relationship, not realizing that that's not who God wanted you to be with. And so what I did was I sat down and I prayed. I said, Lord, you delivered me from this toxic relationship. Now I'm going to wait on you to show me who's going to be my husband, because this is one and done. There's no redo. There's no first, second, third, fourth. This is a one and done for me.
When you say the term one and done, I like that term. We might come back to that. But there are a lot of people, Andrea, who find themselves in a relationship and they're in it and have established the thought, I'm in it to win it. But it is, like you mentioned, there's toxic practices that are there that are more damaging than is healthy for the person or for both parties. Why do you think so many people struggle leaving? Because I know for me, I'm one of those people who love hard. I'm a loyalist, Once I'm in it, I'm in it. I don't walk away easily. But I'm interested in hearing a woman's perspective on why so many people, especially ladies who would find themselves in a bad situation, not wanting to walk away. If you're watching us today, we're live here on Effective Living. Please subscribe to our channel. In addition, what I would like for you to do is, if you have questions about this whole term, hopeless romantic, we're diving into the subject matter tonight. We would love to hear any questions that you have if you're watching us anywhere in the world. Our goal is to respond to you as much as possible during the live or after. So just go ahead and leave a comment or a question. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Now, Andrea, let's go back to that. There are some people who find themselves in a toxic relationship. In your living life up to this point, you've seen a lot. In your opinion, why do you believe there are so many people holding on to that which is not good for them?
Well, let me give you the female's perspective from my opinion. Yeah. A female wants to be loved, and she wants someone to show her that love. But it fails because you're seeking love from somebody who's not supposed to be the person to make you happy. And you come into a relationship without knowing who you are as a person and knowing what makes you happy. So I would say to them, find out what it is about you first. When you love yourself, then you can love someone else. And that's where we start off wrong. We don't love ourselves. I feel for me, when I entered into my marriage, I came from a place where, listen, if it doesn't work out, I'm good. I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to commit suicide and jump off the Paradise Island Bridge. I'm going to be okay because I love myself.
You broke up for a minute. You said you're not going to jump off the bridge. Is that what you said?
No, I said that when I entered into my marriage, I told myself that I love myself so much that if this marriage was not to work out, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not going to commit suicide, and I'm not going to jump off the Paradise Island Bridge because I love me first. And that's where I think women fail. They go into a marriage looking for their husband to fulfill some need or some void within them without coming in as a whole person. You can't be 100% if you're coming with 40 and expecting someone to bring that 50 along, that 60 along,
Yeah.
You have to come half and half and you make a whole. So if you have issues like childhood trauma, you have to deal with those because they manifest themselves later on in your marriage as problems. And they cause you to do things that is normally out of character. They call out of character because you haven't fixed you.
Wow. You have not fixed you. If you're a hopeless romantic, but yet you find yourself still struggling with childish or childhood issues,
Childhood trauma.
yeah, childhood trauma, ladies and gentlemen, it could be that you end up sabotaging that which is good for you because you came in it from an unhealthy standpoint. Andrea, there are people who are watching us today that felt initially that they were in love. You mentioned that you come to the table with this belief, but you are not whole. The term love is played about loosely when you meet people who says, they're quick to say, I love you. When I came to Texas, it was amazing, Andrea, that I found myself in a culture where everybody said, I love you now. Where I grew up, you didn't say I love you. You showed love. You didn't say love. You showed it. And then I came into an environment where it was said very easily, but it wasn't expressed very well. My question to you is, for those who find themselves feeling like they're wanting love, but they're wanting the feeling of love only with the thought, but not understanding the depth of love. What's your view on understanding the true depth of love? Because a lot of people, what they're saying they want love is surface. It's not really deep love. What are your views on that?
My view is that a lot of persons mislabel what love is. To me, love is genuine care and affection and not things. You cannot buy my love because before, my husband can buy me jewelry and I would put that jewelry in a jewelry box and don't look at it. But my husband go out and he stops at a bakery and he buys me a little pastry. Now I'm on top of the world. So I'm like, oh, you remembered me when you passed this bakery and you said, oh, I'm gonna bring my wife a little fruit tartlet. And he used to bring me those when we were dating. And so that's a different whole level of love because you put a lot of thought and effort into just making me smile. And so for me, I celebrate the small things, the simple things. And I think sometimes we take that for granted and we feel like we could buy somebody's love. Like there's not enough money in the world that can buy me. I met a guy who passed me on the street. I was coming out of the bank on John F. Kennedy Drive, and he passed me and he said, oh, you're a beautiful young lady. What's your price? And he caught me off guard because I'm like, what's my price? And he's like, yes, every woman has a price.
Mhm.
And I was so deeply offended. And I said, sir, I'm so sorry that you feel that way, but you just met the first priceless woman
Oh,
because I
come on.
cannot, I cannot be bought. And he was like, well, where do you work? Do you need a job? I can give you a job. No, I'm good. Keep walking. So there are good women out there. So I don't want the men who've been heartbroken to feel, everyone is alike. All you women are the same. You all just want my money. You just want stuff. No, not everybody wants stuff. Some people want genuine love and affection, and I'm one of them.
Wow. Priceless. Priceless.
Priceless.
If you're watching this, you need to put that in the comment section. Priceless. And but let's talk about that from a conditioning standpoint. Initially, you grew up in an environment like every other female, but there are a lot of people who don't have the revelation as to who you are and the standard to which you stand on. We have a couple of questions coming in the comment section. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But if you have a question, go ahead, guys. We're going to talk to you about those questions that you have in a few minutes. But Andrea, when did you pick up the standard to which you live by today? You wanted love. You understand that you love hard, but in addition, you're in an environment where there are so many toxic, negative behaviors that you could have dropped your standard. What kept your standard being so strong to walk confidently out of that bank, being entertained by a gentleman who wanted to present to you what he thought would have been impressive, something impressive? You stood your grounds and declare who you was priceless. For those of you that are watching, Andrea tell us about your views and the stance to which you picked up along the way that you continue to walk with.
Well, for me, Coach Ricardo, I think it has a lot to do with my principles, my morals, and my standards. I love myself. And I don't want to give anyone the satisfaction to say they can question my character or my integrity. I was brought up by a mother who told me you have one thing in this life that's very valuable, and that's your name. And once that's gone, you can never get that back. And I vowed to my husband, I will never bring embarrassment on you where someone will be out there pointing and giggling and telling you or telling someone else that they've been with your wife.
Wow.
That's the height of embarrassment for
Yep.
me as a spouse and for my husband.
Yep.
And so, it's just having morals, principles, values, and just integrity. Have
Yep.
some integrity. Like there's nothing in this world can justify a cheating spouse. There's nothing. You can't say anything. It all goes back to your integrity and your character.
Wow. Integrity and in character. I love the fact that you said you told your husband, you assured him, let me tell you something. There's one thing you ain't got to worry about. I am not going to tarnish your name, because the first thing is I was taught by my mama not to tarnish my name, because the only thing I have is my name. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about this hopeless romantic dynamics. The question in our chat today is there such a thing as true love? Do you believe that there is still considered to be true love? There are some people wondering that this evening.
I totally believe in true love. And, it's going to sound so corny, but I actually was blessed to be married to my soulmate. And when God joined us together, we have a whole backlog history. I won't go into detail about that, but I fell in love with his voice before I fell in love with him as a person. And it's all because our paths crossed when I was very young, and I kept his voice in my spirit. And so when I met him later on in life and I heard his voice, I said, it's something about your voice. Just talk to me. I don't want to see you. I just want to talk to you because I need to hear your voice. It's familiar to me. And when we started conversating, then we discovered that I heard a conversation with him a few years back before we met. And I held on to that voice. And so we rekindled and we reconnected and we realized, hey, we crossed paths a while ago, but I just laugh at it and say, God has a sense of humor.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, there is such a thing called true love. Even though you may have not experienced it, it doesn't negate the fact that there's still true love. And I believe everybody has the right to experience true love. Andrea, we have another question in the chat section. The question says, how do you move on and not look back to your past? Apparently, if life has thrown you some curveballs in relations to a bad relationship, how do you move forward and not look back or allow your past to overtake you?
Well, let me tell you from my experience. When I left my son's father, I still had an emotional bond to him that only Jesus Christ himself could have broken. And I had to leave that at the altar. Literally, I used to go to church every Sunday for altar call. I'm there. And my church members was wondering, why is she always falling down in the front of the church? Like, what's going on in her life? But they didn't realize at the time, I was trying to get my release from a toxic relationship that I was still trying to hold on to when God was trying to release me from it. But God sent a lady to where I was living. Like back in the day when they used to have like the church meetings on the corner with the one person with the stereo and the microphone and the music.
Yeah.
Well, God sent this one lady through the corner where I was living. And she came to my apartment and she said, I don't know you and you don't know me. But she said, for months, the Lord have been telling me to come through this particular corner. And she said, I think this message is for you. And she told me the message and she said, the Lord wants me to tell you, you need to pack up and leave because the relationship you're in is not for you. And that what he has in store for you is much greater than you could even imagine. And she said, you don't know me, right? And I said, no, I don't know you, but I knew that was my word and I still stayed. So I can't say it's easy to leave. Because you want to be connected, you want to believe that this person is for me, but the Lord is telling you and he's sending people and saying, listen, this is not for you. And it took our relationship to become physically abusive
Wow.
for me to say, this is it. You're going to hit me once and I'm never going to give you that opportunity again. And that's how that was the straw that broke that camel's back.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Andrea Pratt-Smith. Andrea, you said so much just now. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching us, listen, please share this live. I think somebody needs to hear this tonight. We're talking about the whole concept of a hopeless romantic. Andrea, there are people who are in toxic relationship, but they want love. They've experienced love before, and they feel as though something can turn, but they got the release as you got to leave. You got the release. And there are people who, I'm a guy, and I struggle with that. And, I didn't believe that I would struggle with that. As a matter of fact, it was so bad that at one point I got a glimpse on what women felt or went through when, as a guy, because hold on, how is it that I'm feeling this experience when I have only heard guys being the ones acting out like this? And so some people don't know how to leave, but you got a word from the Lord. You got advice, and you had the bad experiences that challenged you to say, this is not good for me. But yet it was difficult to leave because you're a hopeless romantic. You believe in love. Yeah. But yet what you was in was a toxic relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, it is possible to be in a toxic relationship and not know how to leave that relationship. How do you leave? You get help. One, you have to get to the point where you realize enough is enough. You had that moment, Andrea, where the straw that broke the camel back.
Yep, listen, I literally turned the other cheek. I'm like, listen, you then block this eye, block that eye, because you ain't gonna get a chance to do this again.
Wow. Wow. Now, after you left the relationship, okay, I'm just gonna ask this question because I hope that's right. We're talking about somebody who loves hard, and there are people who they love so hard that even after somebody would have put their hands on them physically, physical abuse, and they leave, they end up coming back. Was there any moment that you find yourselves, because I heard you about the altar, did you struggle about the idea of giving them another chance?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And for months after the first and only physical abuse, I struggled and I contemplated. And I actually met my husband at that time, and we started to talk. And I told him, I said, I really love my son's father. I'm fighting for my family. I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep my family together. We were engaged to get married. We were living together at the time. And I told him, I said, I'm not entertaining any relationship right now. I said, we can be friends, we can talk, but I have to fight for my family.
Wow.
And we were months after that physical abuse. And I was seriously contemplating going back to him until he came to me and he said, I have something I'm really terrified to tell you, because if I tell you, I think you're going to kill me. And I said, well, what is this news that I'm going to kill you for? And come to find out, he had another lady pregnant. And I was like, okay, this definitely is not for me. So that was it.
Wow. That was it. We have a question, a comment I would like for us to talk about. It says, some never are taught the principles, standards, or even morals. Some people have never. And so some people grew up in toxic environment. How important is it for us to study the environment to which these individuals we connect ourselves with come from? Now, the truth is a person can change and not operate from the environment they came from. What is the role of the environment to which a person comes from? Because there are some people who raise above a negative environment to become the exceptional example. And then there are others who simply repeat what they always saw. What's your view on that?
Ricardo, for me, I didn't come from an ideal mother-father married home. I came from a home where my mother was a single mother. And my father was a married man. And so the majority of my father's children were born during his marriage. So he has a whole tribe of bastard children, and I'm one of them. And my mother raised the 4 of her children as a single woman. She had different relationships. And I didn't grow up with the idealism of this is how you should do something, or, this is how a young woman should act. My mother died when I was 17, so I didn't even have her around in my life to kind of guide me through womanhood. But what she did say, which I kind of reversed in my adult life, she said, don't do what you see me do. Do what I say. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Don't do what you see me do. Do what I say. And I'm like, I'm gonna be a different mother, and I'm gonna tell my children, listen, do what you see me do.
Yes.
You know, I know that sounds like Bahamian dialect, but my actions speak louder than my words. So I cannot tell you, I'm a person with morals, values, and principles. If I'm here getting drunk every night, cussing and carrying on and living like a lunatic. So I live a godly life and I show my children, listen, this is the kind of life that I want you to model. And what's a better example than your parents? Now, if you have parents that aren't giving you that example, then at some point you cannot blame your parents for your failures in life. And I don't support persons who say, oh well, I had a bad childhood or my daddy wasn't there. Get over the daddy issues. Not everybody grows up with a daddy.
Come on.
So
Right.
at some point, be an adult. Take responsibility for your actions and your character. You can be a better person, but you have to make the conscious decision to be a better person.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I told y'all, this girl is on fire. Come on, drop the mic. Come on, drop the mic. Hey guys, listen, guys. If you're watching this for the very first time and you have not subscribed to our channel, please do your boy a favor. Also, if you're enjoying this conversation, give me a thumbs up. We need the thumbs up right about now. Andrea, we have another comment in the comment section that let's talk about a support system. Being in a toxic relationship, we find ourselves sometimes there are people, male and female, because I didn't know that guys feel trapped. When I was growing up on Soldier Road, there was a guy. This is a true story. When I was married, I remember a guy. It was so bad. He was treated so bad. I said to my wife at the time, I said, listen, this guy, he got treated so bad by this girl. I said, please, God, don't ever. I called his name. I don't want to call his name because he's still alive, still hangs on Soldier Road. So I said, I don't want to be this guy. I said, I don't want to be this guy. And listen, when my world started falling apart, Andrea, I said, Lord Jesus, I'm that guy. it was like terrible. I ended up being that guy to some degree. Now, I'm asking this from a male and a female standpoint, that there are people who find themselves, they're in love. They want to be in love. The whole idea of love is real. But they're wanting to get away from a toxic relationship, but they're loyalists. They're committed. They've locked themselves in and don't know how to get away. How important is a support system to help keep you away from that which is not good for you? And I understand that you have to have personally that whole concept of enough is enough. But in addition, the role of a support system to a person in a toxic environment or a relationship.
Well, I would advise persons who are in toxic relationships to find professional help and not go to your cousin Maggie on the corner who has three boyfriends and was divorced 10 times for advice. Because cousin Maggie is not going to give you good advice. She's going to come from an angry Black woman's perspective, and she's not going to counsel you in a positive manner. And so sometimes we have to be very cognizant of where we get this help from and realize that hurt people hurt people. And so not everyone who you share your business with means you well, and they're going to advise you wrong. And then secondly, you have to be aware that when you share your problems that you have with your spouse to your family members, they're going to hate him. And then when you bring them around for Thanksgiving dinner, they're still hating him when y'all in makeup.
Wow. Wow.
So, family members don't understand that a marriage situation is different. It's sacred. Even though that's your family and you want to give your advice, but your advice should come from God's perspective and not, he did that, he did what, you should do this, you should do that, break up the car, flat the tires. No, use wisdom. Not all advice is good advice.
Wow. Not all advice is good advice. Somebody needs to write that down today. Be careful who you're listening to. That is so good. Andrea, there are people who want to express a higher level of love. Let's talk, for example, to the guys. You're a lady, you're in love, your husband has showed up really strong and continue to capture your heart to a degree where there's those butterfly moments. My question to you is, what are practical things, guys, and ladies, if you're watching, put some in the comment section. What are practical things guys can do to set the bar a little higher to say, you know what, I'm going to meet the demands of what she's expecting of me, that hopeless romantic girl that I'm talking to, I want to help connect with her at her very core. What are some of those things that you think is impressive, is encouraging, and that keeps love alive?
Well, I'm looking at my husband walk past me and I'm smiling to myself because I'm reminded what he says to me all the time. Not everyone is like you, Andrea. You're one of a kind. And so the way you are, not everyone is like that. And so I would suggest to the men who's watching, know your spouse or know the person that you're dating, get to know the person that they are, because everyone is unique. So what might impress me, the small things, may not work for that person. They might want the big things, you know? So it's all about what makes that person tick. And for me, I come from a place of gratitude. And so little things make me smile and little things make me happy. And I'll give you an example of one of the stupidest little things I think there is that makes me very happy.
Yeah.
I have sinus problems. And so if I sleep underneath the window with the window open, it affects my sinus in the morning. And my husband would always remember to close the window. And when I look and I check and the window was closed, I'm like, this man really loves me because he closed that window. Now, your viewers might be like, closing the window? Really?
Yeah.
It's like he
Yeah.
didn't buy you something. He didn't take you out to dinner, closing the window. But
Wow.
that's me, it's because he cares about my well being.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me that he remembers to close the window.
I like that, Andrea. There are a lot of people who, I know for me, I didn't understand the importance of love language early on in my relationships over the years. The whole concept of knowing your significant other, knowing your spouse. Let's talk about that for a minute, because there are a lot of guys out there, I'll talk for the men right now, who have a tendency of deciding that they're going to do what they believe is right and say, you know what? Oh, I loved her to death. Look what I did. Unfortunately, as you just mentioned, what your husband did that connected to you at a greater core of love and appreciation was not something he purchased. You know, it was something he did that was somewhat called simple. I know as a guy that there were many times over the years, even as a teenager, I found myself growing up in an environment where I'm a doer of rather than there were a number of other areas. What do you say to the person who is committed to giving love their way without studying the person that they're trying to love?
Well, I would say to that person, if you're trying to do it your way or even from a past relationship way, because you have some persons who say, well, oh, I did this with Sally this way and this was very well. Sally, appreciate these things. But your present relationship is not that same Sally. And what made Sally tick and what made Sally happy is not going to make this current person happy. And like I said before, everybody has their own unique um secrecies or, what makes them special. And so you have to learn your spouse and learn who you're with and find out what makes them tick. And, I want to go off topic a little bit and
Go
address
ahead.
something you said in one of your previous videos. I can't remember your guest at the time, but you guys were talking about um, the Bahamian culture, and that part of the Bahamian culture is that men cheat, Bahamian men cheat.
Okay.
And I want to stand up for Bahamian men and said that's not true. All Bahamian men do not cheat.
I agree. I agree.
And that's a very, bad sweeping generalization to put on our men, because you have a lot of very honorable men who are committed to their wives. And on the other hand, you have wives who are honorable and who are committed to their husband. And cheating is not something that's by gender, that's by person.
Wow. Wow. I'm reading the comments in the section, Andrea. I totally agree with you that all Bahamian men don't cheat, and there is an overgeneralization that is occurring among our society when it comes to our men, that it is a cultural accepted thing, and it is not true. Unfortunately, those who have had the bad experiences are over talking those who have had great experiences,
Exactly.
and I'm extremely grateful for you being a spokesman for the ones who are experiencing that blissful experience that says, you know what, all Bahamian men don't cheat. Now, Andrea, let's dive into a couple of statements before we go on. People said when we talk about some of the things that would give a guy a good thumbs up. How was your night? These are questions. And
Mhm.
have you eaten? Did you arrive home safe? These are some of the questions.
If I ate, somebody wants to know if I ate dinner.
Yeah, in other words, they would have asked. That's what the guy would have asked
Oh, okay.
the girl.
Okay. Yeah.
Checking up on her and seeing if she's eaten already, how she arrived home safe, following up
Yes.
and seeing. So that's a pretty cool deal. Is that you agree with that?
If the fellas should ask that.
I mean, following up and just really looking into bringing those questions to the forefront.
Well, my thing is, I like male chauvinism. I love the whole concept of being treated like a lady.
Yeah.
I wish my husband would open up the car door for me, but I think we've like passed that stage. But I would appreciate it.
You say past the stage. What do you mean past
No.
the stage? Is there a stage where that starts to slow up? I know I'm a guy, but I'm just asking, is it something, ladies, if you're watching in the comment section, do you think it's something that should be continually done over the years, 10 years in, 15 years in, 20 years in?
No, my husband was correcting me right now. He said it's not that he doesn't open up the car doors. I'm driving my own car.
I love it.
He's on the sidelines with his comments. He's like, no, I still open the door, but you're driving your own car.
That is.
But I think that we should not give up on love. Bottom line, do not give up on love. People come, like you said, there's people in your lives for a season, for a reason, and we have to just accept that that's God's will. And we can't fight for a relationship that's not God's will. And I've never been divorced, so I can't speak to what it's like to be divorced. But I can say that I know my husband had a hard time with his divorce. He was previously married before we got married, and he never wanted to get divorced. And he wanted to fight for his family, the same situation as you. And you have a lot of people who know that the damage that divorce has not only on themselves as a spouse, but on the children. And the children are the ones who really suffer at the end of the day because they're now from a broken home.
Wow. That is so true. Someone says chivalry is dead. Do you believe that?
No, it's not. They're going to bring it back. They're going to bring it back.
That is so good. Let me ask you this. There are some people who watch movies and they saw romantic movies. They read romantic books and say, that's only in the movies. Don't expect that it's only in the movie. What happened there for someone to believe that it's only in the movie? And is it only in the movies?
No, it's not. That's not only in the movies. One of my favorite books is The Notebook, and I just love that movie. Nicholas Sparks is a great author, and that movie was excellent. And it's only there if you cut off yourself to being open to it. If you tell yourself that's not something that you want in your life. But if you open up to the possibilities that, hey, this can't happen for me, I can't find someone who's going to do these things for me, or, let me repeat that. Let me go back and rewind that one. For me, what I do in my relationship is, if I want flowers, if I feel like today is a day that I could just use with some thinking of me flowers, I would send flowers to my spouse. And, it's like, you don't have to keep waiting on stuff to happen to you. Stop always trying to be the receiver. You could reciprocate and be the giver. And in relationships, people just sit back and they wait and say, let me see if he's going to do this. Let me see if he's going to do that. But why don't you do it? Why don't you initiate some stuff? And stop just waiting. And I think that's what people do in relationships. They just sit around and they wait and they say, let me see what he's going to do next. Because people take relationships like a game. It's not a game. That's your life. And if you play it like a game, it's going to play you like a game. And so if you are intentional about the way you treat your spouse and the way you handle your relationships, then you'll get what you put in.
Wow.
And like anything, you only get out what you put in. It's like computer terminology, giggle, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. That is so good. Listen, there are people who are watching us. You guys, thank you so much for your comments in the comment section. Please do me a favor and share this live. Someone needs to watch this to give love a second chance. Andrea, there are people who are watching this, including myself, who are open to hear any suggestion that you would give to someone to remind them, keep love alive by doing the following. What would be those things that would really come to mind once again?
First of all, I would say, seek the Lord's guidance, seek his wisdom, and let him lead you. Don't go out looking for a spouse. Pray for them and ask the Lord to put whoever he has purpose to put in your life as your mate, for him to reveal that person to you. I believe that God made someone for each of us. The same way you would say that there's someone out there made to help you, there's someone that God made out there to be your mate, to be a life mate, and to journey with you along life, and not to jump up midway and say, this is not for me. That's not who God ordained to be in your life. So my advice would be seek God's will for your life, not just in relationships, but for everything. Be prayerful, stay prayerful. Don't stop praying. Don't give up on love. As long as there's life, there's hope, and God's will prevail as long as you be silent, be still, stop seeking, stop going to the bars and trying to pick up a spouse in the bar. Your spouse is not in the bar, unless she owns the bar. But, it's like, just be prayerful about it. And whoever's supposed to be in your life will be in your life. And sometimes people need to realize that not all the time you're meant to be married. Some persons were not meant to be married and they're supposed to be single. And so if you look at it from that approach, stay single until God is ready for you to move on to whatever other aspect of your life journey there is.
Self work. You're talking about really a lot of what you just shared just now really connects with a person being okay with themselves. You started to talk about that initially early on, and I think you're a phenomenal representation of a person who's okay with you first. And being that you're okay with you, you're now able to add tremendous value in the love and the relationship you have with your husband. Talk to those who are watching, male and female. Do the work for you to ensure that you could bring value and significance and the highest level of connectivity to a relationship, because there are some people who are wanting what they're not prepared to put in the work to prepare for. How important is that, and what would you say to those who are watching?
I would say that when I entered my relationship with my husband, I was a hot mess. I had just left a toxic, abusive relationship, and all I knew was fighting, arguing. You name it, we went through it. And he was very patient with me. I had to seek the Lord for my healing. And I think a lot of my transformation came from my relationship with God. And when I got saved, it kind of changed me in that I was no longer an angry person and I was no longer a victim. I changed my whole mindset, my mentality on life. I was not going to be labeled as a victim of domestic violence. And, I was not going to be this sorrowful person who left this relationship and was broken. I made a commitment to myself that I was going to be the best version of myself. And my husband allowed me the time to get to know who I am as a person and to release all of my anger and my hatred. And I was a mess. He's shaking his head. I was a mess. And so, it's like, take time for you. Take out that time that you need to heal and be a whole person. When you enter a marriage as a broken person, it always goes back to that hurt people. And you tend to find people who they leave one relationship and they take that same stick from that relationship and they try to beat the next person with that person's stick. Leave that stick in the past. Why are you bringing that stick along? Do not treat your current mate the way you had to deal with your past. Leave the past in the past. Turn a new page. Start a new page right from scratch. This is a new relationship, and I should not be an angry person in a new relationship with a person who's not an angry person. My husband had this thing when we first met. He doesn't argue. And in 23 years of knowing him, we have never had an argument. And some persons would be like, that can't be true. It's like everybody round, everybody carry on, everybody fight. No, that's the truth. He doesn't believe in arguing. And he has never in my lifetime, from knowing him, called me any derogatory terms. You know, um, he uplifts me and empowers me. And I implore every and anyone to go out there and find a spouse who makes you a better person. If you cannot be your unique self in your marriage, something is wrong. If you find yourself changing who you are just to try to keep the peace,
Yeah.
something is wrong.
What about we're almost done, ladies and gentlemen, but I have a couple of questions coming in. What about for those who would have changed uh, after they got into the marriage, but initially they did not come into the marriage being themselves? So so they sort of faked it in, try to hold it together. And I mean, talk to those, because guys do it. That you do what you need to do to get her, or you do what you need to do to get him, only to know you can't keep this up. You can't keep this up. And so,
Listen, you could only fake for so long. Your true colors will show eventually. So you might as well be your real, genuine self and let that person make a decision whether they want to take you for the good, the bad, and the ugly, than to come in under false pretenses and they find out later on, hey, this is a monster.
yeah.
If you're a monster, take off the sheep clothing and show that person that, hey, I'm really a wolf.
Wow. Wow. Listen, Andrea, let me ask you this question. I was talking to my one of my godsons, and he is, preparing to commit at a whole nother level. And I said, there is no questions that ought not be asked that both parties should not be comfortable answering. Do you believe that? And if so, because I know when I grew up in the Bahamas, growing up on the streets, there were some things you just didn't talk about. I don't want to know about your last boyfriend. I don't want to know about your past. I just want to know where you are now. But the truth is, knowing where you came from will help me to understand how to deal with you in your present. How important is it for both parties to understand at some point we both have a past, be it that generational challenges? What was your family like? What was your previous relationships like? What do you still struggle with to this day that I may not know, that you're just coming to accept? How important is those candid conversations to keep love alive?
Those conversations are very important. You have to ask the powerful questions before you even make a commitment. I wouldn't say wait until you're married and then on the honeymoon it's like, you want to ask something to this person. No, you find out everything about this person up front before
Yeah.
you commit, because that's very important. And then you have to also take in consideration, not only are you dealing with someone's personality and their character, but you may be dealing with generational curses.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So you
I,
have you do
no.
have all these things you need to consider.
Wow. The I remember this. Here's one of the questions I asked my godchild to pass on, and I said, "Is there anything you know that nobody knows that you know that I need to know?"
That's a good one.
Hey, is there anything that you know that nobody
Mhm.
knows that I need to know, but only you one know? The truth is, there is so much digging up that one must be prepared to know on both parts, because you could be in a relationship for a while only to discover that you never went that far to realize it was there from the beginning, but it's now revealing itself. Andrea, there are people watching us. I'm so grateful, from all around the world. If you're watching us from the Bahamas, put a comment in the comment section, 242 Bahamas live. If you're anywhere in the United States, put where you're watching us from in the United States. Listen, every 7 p.m. we're going live here on YouTube with our YouTube channel. So I would love for you guys to check us out. We're not doing the morning talks anymore. For now, we're doing evening talks, and Andrea was the one to kick off this first one. Be it we're come on now, we're the first day of June. So thank you
First
so
thing.
much for such a phenomenal, great conversation. I have a couple questions here, and so when it comes to effective living in your relationship, what does that look like?
Effective living in my relationship looks like trust. Before you can have anything else, you have to have trust. And once that trust is broken, it's very hard to be repaired. It's like a china bowl that cracks into a million pieces. And when you think you collect all, there's still a few pieces that you will never find. And so you have to have trust, and trust is built with excellent communication, and not just being able to talk, but be able to listen. There's something called active listening, not just waiting for your turn to speak, because persons say they're listening, but they're actually just waiting on their time to jump in on this conversation and, just rile you out and say, this is my perspective, but they haven't been listening. You have to listen with intent. It's called active listening, but it's built on trust. Marriages are built on trust. Good marriages are built on trust. So I would say, you know, just keep hope alive. Don't give up. There's somebody out there for everybody. And bad things happen to good people, but that's okay. We brush ourselves off and we move on.
Wow.
And you have to be prayerful.
Bad things happen to good people, but we get ourselves up and we brush ourselves off and we keep it moving. What an incredible statement. Thank you so much, Andrea. Ladies and gentlemen, every night, Monday to Friday, here on our YouTube channel at 7 p.m., it is our goal to talk about the subject matters that will help us to raise our standard of living to a whole new level. Remember, effective living is about 5 foundational truths. It centers around faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. We want you to bring everything together so that your life can go to a whole new level on a weekly, monthly, annual basis. You should not be stuck. You should be growing and glowing. You should be learning how to take every area of your life to new levels. The truth is, as long as there's life in this body of yours, when you wake up in the daytime, first thing in the morning, you got to tell yourself, a new day is an opportunity to begin again. And so go ahead and tell yourself, I'm going to give love a try again. Go ahead and tell yourself, you know what? I may have had some bad experiences, but I won't allow those bad experiences to define me. I'm going to learn the lessons from those experiences, and I'm going to try love again. I'm going to try life again. And maybe you're in a season where it's all about you. You got to be okay with you. Closing comments, Andrea, this is the last one right here for us before we end our talk. Those who don't know how to treat themselves by themselves, engaging life at their best by themselves, talk to those people, because the truth is, if you're in the Bahamas, there's the beaches, there's the grapes you can go ahead and pick, there is the treat that you can treat yourself and be okay. How important is that on our journey to living life to the fullest from a hopeless romantic standpoint?
Well, for me, being a hopeless romantic, I'm going to use that now. Hopeless romantic
Yeah, yeah.
is that you love yourself first. You have to take time out to get to know yourself, know your ins and outs, so that when you enter a relationship, you wouldn't be trying to figure out, who am I? What do I bring to this relationship? You will have that position of power and say, I know who I am. I know what I bring. I know my worth. And to love yourself, know that you have value. When you come to a relationship or a marriage, know that you're the prize. I'm the prize.
Come on.
He's lucky to have me, So
Yeah.
take that stance and say, you know what? I am going to make him a better person, and he is going to make me a better person. And as long as we are in a marriage where we're both making each other better people, we are in a good marriage. And we're hopeless romantics. And this is going to work for us because we are committed. We've given each other our space to grow as individuals, and we have our collective tasks that we accomplish together. But it's all about having a commonality, which is God. God brings the best out of each of us, and he will do marvelous things as long as you trust him and you pray.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Listen, guys, if you are watching us for the very first time and you have not subscribed to our channel, please do that. Put on that notification bell and make sure you tell yourself, hey, I need to come back and check out this effective living platform. Ricardo is on to something, and I just want to help you. If you have not gotten a copy of my book, Effective Living, guys, you could be missing out, because this is the manual, this is the guide to help you bring your life together. And listen, as 2021 finds itself right in the middle of the year, make sure you grab a hold of a material, a book that can help you step it up a notch. Now, Andrea, I didn't ask you about this, but you said you read my book more than twice. and you marked it up in your closing. Could you tell our viewers your view on the book? Because you said it was all highlighted up. What's your view on persons getting their copy?
Listen, I was trying to scroll on my phone because I have it on my computer and I have it on my phone. And so even today when I was at the hair salon, I was sitting down just reading this book.
Wow.
And it's not just a book, it's a tool. So, you can't see my phone, but I have passages highlighted, like letting a toxic person back into your life is like reopening a portal to hell. I wish I could highlight that twice. That was a keeper. I'm like, man, letting a toxic person back into your life is like reopening a portal to hell.
Wow.
Now, isn't that a word?
Yes, that's a word. Ladies and gentlemen, that would encourage you right now. Go get your copy at ricardomiller.com. Andrea, this was such a phenomenal conversation. Thank you for starting off the month of June with a bang, not only for us here in Effective Living, but for also your platform. For those who are interested in learning about what you guys are doing and the various services that you got connected to you, how can they follow you and be a part of what you have going on?
Well, I am the owner of Creative Minds Project Development and Consultation. I know that's a long company name, but you can find us at creativemindsprojects.com. And we have just launched our first project, which is the Bahamas Project Management Community. We launched tonight with our virtual launch party, which was excellent. And we're having bi-weekly meetups. The dates are going to be posted on our website. They are free and they are an opportunity for not just project managers, but anybody who wants to learn life skills. Anyone who wants to be a better professional, anyone who wants to just learn. We're lifelong learners. And my family laughed at me and said, I have an alphabet soup behind my name with all those letters. But, I love to learn and I keep going after education. And there's always something new to learn. So if you want to be a lifelong learner and learn new skills, then we welcome you to join us. It's a free opportunity to be a part of a community that encourages you to be the best version of yourself.
That's what I'm talking about. Go ahead and write this in the comment section. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. That's what it's all about here on Effective Living. Once again, Andrea, thank you so much. God bless you. Have a great evening. Hey guys, don't forget to invite someone to watch what you just watched and allow us to get this content out. Others need to know you can give love a chance. You can go back at it again. And there are practical things that one should engage in to ensure that the rest of your journey becomes the best of your journey. Good night, everyone.